we have to know all the different parts that make up an equation. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not know. This first thing right here, we have a number next to, what is this? A variable. We know that. That's a variable. That we all know. We should know that. We know it's a variable. We know that this is, what is this?
Equal sign.
This is an equal sign. Okay, so we know that. Anyone think they know anything else up here?
The 3 is coefficient.
The 3, good job. The 3 right here, the number located next to a variable can be a whole number. It can be a fraction. It can be a decimal. It's known as the coefficient. It's the numerical part of a mathematical multiplication expression. It's the number, this is multiplication, whatever number is next to this, that's multiplication, that is known as the coefficient. Now, that's a variable, that's a coefficient. If we put them together, this whole thing right here, anybody know what it is? It's 2 words. Anybody have an idea?
What is that?
Starts with a V, and the second word starts with a T.
Variable.
Variable something. Variable, it's known as the variable term. You have to know what that is. It's very, very important that you know what the variable term is, because when we solve equations, your goal is to get the variable alone by itself on one side of the equal sign. But before you do that, in any equation, besides a one-step equation, you must, before you isolate the variable term, which means get this thing alone by itself, and then get rid of the coefficient. Okay, so we have variable, coefficient, variable term. This is subtraction, it could also be addition, it could be a whole bunch of things. It's known as an operation. Lots of different operations. Subtraction, addition, multiplication, division. And then these two things. Let me ask you a question. This is not 6, this is negative 6. This is not just 15, this is positive 15. The terms that do not have variables, notice does this have a variable? This is a variable term. The terms that do not have variables, those are known as constants. Whenever you solve an equation, it's usually going to end up the exact same way. Variable ends up on one side of the equal sign, and on the other side you have a constant. If you don't have that, you've probably done something wrong. There's only one very tiny, very small situation where you will not have a variable on one side and a constant on the other. Other than that, 99.9999% of the time, variables going to end up on one side, constant ends up on the other side. Now, let's see if you can fill in the blank here. Without this equal sign, if I were to take this away, this would not be an equation, it would be known as a, starts with an E, somebody said it. It'd be known as an expression. So once again, if I talk about an equation, it better have an equal sign. If I talk about an expression, it could just be 2 terms together, 3x minus 6. This would technically be, and you don't have to write this, but this, technically, without the equals 15, would be an expression, 3x minus 6. However, we are dealing with equations. Now, constants can be positive or negative. They can also be fractions. They can also be decimals. It doesn't matter. The only thing that a constant cannot have is a variable. Good. And a coefficient, once again, just like a constant, can be a whole number, a fraction, or a decimal, but a coefficient must be located directly next to a variable, and the operation between these two is always going to be multiplication. So, to go through the whole thing, coefficient, variable, operation, equal sign, constant, variable term. As we go through these lessons, for the rest of the year, I'm going to use that vocab. I'm going to say, what is this? What is that? You're going to say, that's the variable term. That's the coefficient. That's the constant. I'm going to say that, and I expect you to say it the same way. If you learn this vocab now, you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the way. Okay. Now that we know what an equation